Hi, and welcome back to Rick's Room. Now, this is the show where we simulate the end of a busy conference, where we finally, at the end of the day, have time to sit down and meet people we've been wanting to talk to all day. Now, today, the person that I'm going to meet, this is going to be one of my first conversations with her, and I can't wait for it. She has extensive experience in mortgage capital markets, MSR mortgage servicing rights and valuation, and she's lately been applying all these tools, these new AI tools to this work. But her resume, if you glance at it, it reads like a book. She has done everything, and I'm thrilled to have her on the show today. Please join me in welcoming Deb Gaveglio. Deb, thanks for being with me.
Hi, thanks for having me, Rick.
Now, I'll be honest, after I read that resume, I had a hardest time trying to find out how do I introduce this person who has done so much. So why don't you tell me how you do it? Who is Deb? What's your jam? How do you describe yourself to people?
Typically, I'm around mortgage colleagues, so I introduce myself as just an industry veteran with a tremendous amount of in the weeds, transactional MSR experience in the 90s. Worked on a ton of derivative products and strips, and at the same time was managing the operational risk and all the vendors and servicers as well. So that kind of laid the foundation for my capital markets experience. And since then, I've applied it at FHFA, reviewing a ton of the SIFI transactions when the banks were selling large portfolios to the non-banks. So that 20 years just laid a foundation for me to further use it. I also used it at Credit Suisse during the crisis to reverse engineer bad loans and figure out what happened. Is there a pattern? Is there any recourse? Can we resolve this in any way other than just take the loss? So since then, I've kind of branched out a little bit on my own and very, very strong in the AI space now. I took a year to learn a lot, and luckily early in this AI bullet train, there's lots of free training by entities who have built chatbots or want to sell you their chatbot. So I took a year to learn a lot of that and then kind of implemented those ideas, and now added that on to what do you do in the mortgage space when you need to assess risk? Because it used to be just the camel so credit, asset management, liquidity. Right. And now you've got a huge operational and technical risk. So that's, I've kind of added the exclamation point to just a career full of learning and growing.
Well, that's one of the reasons I was so excited to get you to come on the show, Deb, is because I want you to talk to me about where that risk is hiding and the other things. But before we go there, I interviewed so many people throughout my career, and almost none of them kind of moved into our industry right away. But you actually came in right out of college, right? Tell me, just give me the high points of your career after you came out of college and what you've kind of done since.
Very lucky. My aunt worked at Merrill Lynch. She worked in mergers and acquisition in a non-secretarial role. So she was a pioneer herself. Lydia, my aunt, my mentor, she got me a summer job at Merrill Lynch. I was a organizational communications major in college. Didn't know I wanted PR, media, mass media was just blasting at that time. So she got me the job, and then I was off to the races. And yes, I spent my entire career somehow in the mortgage world, in the secondary market. Even tapping into the origination side, because we were buying new product as well as seasoned product back in my early days. So yeah, it's really been volatile at times in this industry, but I've learned to reinvent when you need to, because world events, economic events, companies go different directions. So I've always had to keep my eyes open My eye on the ball, as my basketball coach would say.
I guess so. Well, looking through your career, I mean, if the mortgage industry was an action movie, boy, we've seen everything. Big rises and big crashes, and you've been right in the middle of it all along. So you've seen risk and fraud in just about every flavor it can come in. As you look at the business today, where do you see the danger? What should we as an industry be looking for when we look for fraud and risk in the business today?
I did my master's in 2011 and I obtained, I thought I needed to polish, so I got it in fraud studies instead of an
Nice.
MBA. So back then, it was very focused on cybersecurity, and we actually were taught what hacking, how it actually happens. We created a box and hacked into it. And so very cybersecurity back in the 2011 space. Now, the risks are just overwhelming in the privacy space for mortgages, because everything we do is about, a borrower's private data. So the privacy space is overwhelming, and also the AI risk space, the bias that, and I'm not talking hallucinations. We all know whatever strawberry or blueberry was spelled incorrectly, but if you're a good risk person, you trust but verify anything that comes across your desk. So what I see now is, the ability of AI to be a person, to fraud you in ways to defraud you in ways that definitely we didn't contemplate back in 2011 with personas. In fact, we were back then looking a lot into using biometrics, using voice authentication. But now there's such a risk around that. So the two biggest buckets, I think, are the regulations or the lack thereof. And I could go deeper into that because we have nothing really solid on the federal level except guidance. But there's lots on the state level and international level. And then also things like telecommunications, so many laws around that you need to adhere to. So yeah, in the AI space, the personas that these tools can create and invent and sound like your grandma, sound like you, just it's really frightening. So that's the biggest, tacked onto all the normal credit risk, ops risk, human opportunity to commit fraud, and then all the risky products that are out there and the risky players. You really have to have a much more broad view at what are your risks.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like you're saying we have all of the old risks plus some fancy new ones
Whew.
that we have to make. But what's interesting, Deb, to me is that earlier in the conversation, you talked with some excitement about the capabilities that these new AI tools give us. But the flip side of that, the other side of that coin, is that they also carry risk. So in the work you're doing now, is that what you find most interesting? Or given all your experience, I guess my question is, where do you like to work? Where do you like to play with your background?
Well, I think because AI is, quickly moving into every aspect of the mortgage world, that I would love if I could just like get on board to a company that's either started as a fintech or started as some kind of mortgage entity and is, quickly moving into that space, and just being the human in the loop. And being able to assess risk. I listened to a call just before our interview about the things you need to be aware of now. If you're going to automate, if you're going to use AI, and like you said, it's much bigger than just the basic credit ops and managing your money. Now it's ops and tech, or and the data, the protection of the data, and just the cleanliness, accuracy, comprehensiveness. You just can't accept what comes out of these tools, even though I have to tell you, I've seen some pretty darn amazing stuff on the content side and then on the analysis side. So, but it's a trust but verify tool that an expert like me is like, oh my gosh, something going to make my job a little more efficient, take a little less time. Like I said, if I had the tools now that I had early in my career, I would not have had to work crazy hours.
I guess that's true. And I'm sure you've worked plenty of crazy hours. Now, this question may be just an old journalist being stupid, but given what you've seen and what you understand about these tools and what they could do, would you ever consider going to work for a regulator or the government in some way to help us?
I did work for FHFA
Oh, that's right. That's
for
right.
7 years. So would I go back? I suppose I would, but you know, I'm in the DC area, and as you know, the DC agencies have been thinned, and even FHFA, a good portion of the folks I worked with have taken some sort of package and left. Really smart, great people. So if it was available, like a HUD, an FHA, a Ginnie Mae, a USDA, I absolutely would, because even though public service is much different than private sector, there's still a way you can be impactful and, you know, message, share knowledge. I did work for the VA last year, and all I did was share knowledge, and they were very grateful, and, you know, kind of took it all in, because like you said, I've kind of been around the block a few times.
Yes, you have. Well, a lot of change going on in government, especially at the federal level. But I expect that's going to normalize in the near future. And when they start taking a look at where the risk really is and where they really need help, it will not surprise me if they start looking at AI. And lucky for us, you've been working there. I've been visiting with Deb Gaveglio. Now, Deb, I know I'm saying your last name like a dumb American. It's really Italian, right?
Yes.
How should I say it?
It's really Gaveglio, but that's way too much to correct everyone. So we've
Well,
always just used Gaveglio.
well, I like it either way. What's that?
Gaveg simplified it when I was in high school, and most of my family at one point has been called that.
Well, I like it either way, Deb, and I love that you came on the show so much. And you mentioned going deeper at one point. Oh man, I would love that conversation. So I hope you will agree to come back. Dave Gaveglio, she's an industry veteran that's been with us in our industry since the beginning and has a lot to share. We're going to have you back in the future, Deb. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you, Rick. It's been my pleasure.